stage and sometimes on the directing side, and I'm proud to be one of the board members for about 8 years at Stageworks Theater. I came here this morning because my fellow advisory board member, Yvette Segura, and I were supposed to have breakfast at Oxford Exchange, and she emailed me yesterday and said that Karla and Hartley and J.L. Ray were speaking. Did I want to come? So we switched our plans over, and now I'm up here in front of you as Bill's understudy. So that went well. So it was my honor and privilege to, on the fly, introduce my dear friend and the producing artistic director of Stageworks Theater. Karla Hartley is a Tampa native who, upon graduation from high school, decided to leave and see if things were better at Boston University, where she received a BFA. It wasn't so great up there, and she came home, and Tampa Theater is better for it. It was real cold. Tampa Theater became better for it, and as a founding member of Loft Theater, for those of you who have followed local professional theater development over the years, he was integral in that. Also over at the Strauss Center, founded the Off-Center Studio and brought unique performance theater artists, multimedia into that space for many, many years. Went on to do a lot of work at the Jade Theater, and then had some extraordinary productions at American Stage, where she still moonlights. And then we were fortunate enough for her to become the producing artistic director of Stageworks Theater about 5 years ago now?
I think it's like 8.
Is it really?
I think so.
The pandemic took 2 years, so that doesn't count. So here it is. And since then, she has led Tampa's oldest and most prestigious and most award-winning professional theater company, Stageworks Theater, which is located in the Channel District at Grand Central at Kennedy. We are so incredibly blessed to have her. I can say that as a board member, but more importantly, I'm just lucky to have her as a friend, because on top of everything else, she's super cool. So everybody, Karla Hartley.
Hi. I'm gonna put my coffee down. We did the preview last night of Anna in the Tropics, and then I got home and my cat had disappeared. So we searched for quite some time. So I got about 2 hours sleep, so I'm gonna ask for a little grace today. But my name is Karla Hartley. I do want to introduce my co-presenter here, the lovely and talented J.L. Ray. He is now the artistic director, come on down, artistic director of Spanish Lyric Theater, which is a long-running theater. You'll tell more about that.
Spanish Lyric Theater is, are we on? Can you hear me okay?
What?
She's also a technical whiz, this one. She does technical things. Hello. Beautiful. Oh, yes, here we are. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. J.L. Ray, artistic director of Spanish Lyric Theater, our oldest bilingual theater company, not just in Tampa, but in the United States of America. So we are, thank you. Still fighting the good fight, continuing to fight the good fight. So we're here to talk to you about our connection to Tampa.
Right.
And from the perspectives of each of our companies, and incidentally, please come check out Anna and the Tropics at Stageworks Theater Company, which I happen to have directed.
It's really good. You have a embarrassingly homemade flyer in front of you. As Carrie said, I'm a native of Tampa, and I'm a bit of a unicorn in that I'm a third-generation native of Tampa. And my grandfather actually had one of the largest businesses in East Tampa, I guess. 34th and Lake. That makes it East Tampa.
Yeah.
My roots run deep here. And I did go to Boston for a bit, but I did come back because it was cold. But also because I love it here. I really do. And for someone who has been here as long as I have, to see the growth of the city, particularly the downtown area, where, trust me, you didn't want to go after 9 o'clock back in the day. But it's beautiful to see the region that we love so much grow and thrive. And Stageworks Theater is embarking next season on its 40th anniversary season. So we're very excited about it, and I think we have a really stellar season lined up for you. And part of what we're doing next season is what we're going to talk about today. So next season we're doing The Color Purple, right? Then a play called Christmas Contigo, directed by and starring
You know, I have to point out this connection between Karla and myself as persons, and also Stageworks and Spanish Lyric Theater is a significant thing. These kinds of collaborations and connections, especially for 501c3s that we both are almost, it is impossible to exist without these sorts of partnerships. So carry on.
So, but my point is, in the spring season, we've commissioned a play by a local playwright named Mark Lieb about the lunch counter protests here in Tampa in the 1960s. And in the Tropics is set in Ybor City. And the following season, we've commissioned a musical about the Great Tampa Snow Show of 1958, which is awesome. So we're really trying to make sure that people are aware of the history of where we are, especially the interlopers who just turned up in 2015. Because it's a rich history. Culturally and historically, it's a very interesting area, and many people just don't know about it. So what we're trying to do, and I think part of what JL's mission is as well, is to make sure that our community is connecting to the roots of our little tiny civilization, if that makes sense. I mean, so Spanish Lyric has been around longer than Stageworks, right?
Yeah, we've been around since 1959. Spanish Lyric Theater was founded by a gentleman named Rene Gonzalez on the campus of the University of Tampa, right across the street, is where Spanish Lyric Theater began. And our mission is to carry on and preserve a very specific Spanish cultural art form, which is called zarzuela. Zarzuela is, if you imagine opera and musical theater getting married, actually, if you imagine opera and zarzuela getting married, what you would get is American musical theater. What happened is, at the same time that the Viennese operettas were being written by people like Strauss in Vienna, Spanish composers were writing zarzuelas, which are essentially the precursor to what became American musical theater. These are fully staged book musicals. That is, there is a story, a plot, and character development. You don't just sing a song and move on. Everything is connected, like it is in American musical theater. So that is our sort of special niche, and we are one of only 2 companies in the entire country that performs zarzuela and zarzuela music consistently. It is part of our mission. We also do shows in English because the community we serve is bilingual, in some cases trilingual. So we do Broadway shows as well. So our season coming up is we're going to do, and this summer we're going to do a production of In the Heights, which there's a flyer here for you to look at. Also in September we're going to do a concert of zarzuela music. I have written a really goofy, silly way to introduce audiences to zarzuela music called the Zarzuela Zone. And it plays like that. It's goofy and fun, but you get to hear this beautiful classical Spanish music. And then we are toying with what we will announce for next season, but something like Hairspray possibly. And we're talking about a play called La Gringa. It will be the first time.
You're the one.
Yes. Yeah, we're thinking about doing La Gringa, which is a play about a Puerto Rican girl.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I just had to say that a year and a half ago, I applied for the rights for La Gringa. And I put it off because of the pandemic and yada yada. And then they emailed me yesterday and said, somebody else is interested in La Gringa. Do you want to keep it or give out it or let them have it?
Let's talk.
Let them have it.
Let's talk business, man. See, this is what happened with Café con Tampa.
And as is evidenced here today, and I think with Carrie weird, right? We have a really wonderful community who is supportive of one another and who truly believe in the notion that that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? I can't think of a single person on either side of the bay that I beef with. I mean, I'm really nice, so it's hard to get on my bad side.
She is really nice.
Right? It's a curse. It's a giving artistic community, and that moves forward to visual artists as well. I mean, I think that we have now with the Tampa Arts Alliance and other groups that are building, we have a really great opportunity to bring all aspects of the arts together in one space to have a really meaningful conversation, right?
Let me jump in here really quickly.
Okay, go.
Because these two companies in particular there's a conversation going on in the country about diversity and representation and avoiding cultural appropriation. And these are important conversations. The thing is, that company, Stageworks Theater Company, was doing this as part of their mission at the beginning of their existence.
Yeah.
Spanish Lyric Theater, by our very existence, by the material that we choose, we have been part of this conversation for over 60 years. So here in Little Tampa, this conversation began a very long time ago, and the country is just now catching up to this conversation. So we're here, and I want to invite you to come check us out. Check out Out on the Tropics, which is the nearest thing that you can check out with some immediacy. Come see In the Heights. Come see what's available. It's right here in Ybor City. We're doing In the Heights at the Hillsborough Community Campus right here in Ybor, just a few blocks from here.
And Tampa has always engaged in that diversity conversation, right? Because it's always been a diverse group of people who live here. But understand that Centro Storiano, which is down in Ybor, was the only Spanish-speaking theater of all of the theater circuits that were built by the WPA, the Roosevelt, frankly, the Roosevelt. So, I mean, there's a history here, and a history that we often ignore, that we don't know about, simply because I think that, other places have like harbors where they dumped tea in, and like statues and stuff like that, and we don't have that necessarily. But I love to tell people about the gun across the way. And how Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders came through on their way to Cuba and stayed at that hotel just across the street from us. And young people in particular don't have a grasp on the history of their region. And that is what we are trying to get to. I have committed Stageworks Theater to producing one new play a season. And that's a big commitment, because it's going to be a play that nobody's heard of, because it's new. But here's the thing. Artists at their core are historians. Everything that we know about the history of civilization, we know because a painter painted a painting about it, a writer wrote a novel or a play about it, somebody wrote music about it. And the only way that we know how ancient Sumerians lived their lives is because we found little shards of pottery that we can put together, and artisans make that happen. So we need to be documenting our current state of affairs so that in 40 years, when someone does a play about what's happening now, it is available to them, and it is realistic, and it is helpful. Does that make sense? Because now we do plays from 40 years ago, right? So we know all about that. So we want to make sure that artists of the future know where we are and what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. We need to really focus on the why. The why is the most important part of the work that we do. And a lot of, as JL said, we do a lot of work that's based in social justice. As I think you guys really spearheaded that from well of the history of your organization. Because everybody deserves a seat at the table. Barring socioeconomic status, whatever sort of other status. That's where we live, in the space of the other.
Yeah.
Right? We want to make sure that the other is given representation on stage, because fundamentally I think that people come to the theater to see themselves, or some aspect of themselves, or want to judge somebody else for some aspect of themselves. Right? So what we're doing is not just presenting things that you can go and have fun and laugh at. We are presenting the history of our civilization. And why we do it is what's really important.
May I jump in here? So we have a mother with a son who is a musical theater major in the house, right? You just told us your son is a musical theater major. So it is, we are trying to sort of set the table and open up the table, make it a bigger table, so that your son can continue to lead this conversation forward as we go on. We are doing art, we are doing entertainment, but there's also a serious and important and beautiful conversation that we are trying to carry on and to move forward. So it is fun, it is entertaining, it is marvelous. The process of creating a work of art is it is a privilege to have that process available to me. We also want to make that process available to young people who are coming after us, so that these conversations can continue.
And quite frankly, I didn't realize how deeply rooted I am spiritually to the work that we do until I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
When the world shut down and we couldn't do anything, it was breathtaking for me, because that's what I do. My world is bringing people together in one place, showing them something. So, but it was deeply meaningful, I think, for us to have the experience of being robbed of that for a certain period of time. And now that we're back in it, and I'm not gonna lie, when you first got back in it, you're like, oh, this is hard. I forgot how hard this is.
Yes.
You're like, oh my God, 4 hours of rehearsal. But it's having had that experience of not being able to do what we need to do spiritually to be whole, it makes us all more grateful that we can do it now, and that we can do powerful work like this.
And there's a joy that comes with that, the realization of how precious this gift is. So I beg you, I encourage you to support all local artists, all local theater, performing art, visual art, all kinds of art, because the connection that we experience as human beings with art, through art, is unique. It can be life-changing if you open yourself up to it. So welcome.
Right?
Come.
Yeah, good job. I should probably let that be it, but I've always had the last word, always. The other thing that we want to make sure that people understand about what we do and why we do it is, there's a joke, right? You're in New York in a restaurant, and you ask her, what do you do for a living? He said, well, really, I'm an actor, right? Well, what restaurant do you work at? Right? Part of what we're trying to make sure people understand is that
Art.
oh God, see, maybe God doesn't want us to say this, but that artists are worthy of compensation.
Amen.
I pay everybody to do the things. I don't not pay anybody. And I don't think you don't either.
We do some, we're able to do some. We are primarily a community theater, and part of our mission is to expose people to the experience of creating theater as well, and in some cases, that involves people who are volunteering to perform. We just had a musical Tick Tick Boom in which our band on stage was made up of 4 brilliant high school students, and they got to have the experience of being the band for a musical. So that's part of our mission as well, providing a training opportunity by experience to people who volunteer to perform, to see, in many cases, to explore art as a performance for the first time. That's part of our mission as well.
So we love what we do. We hope that you love what we do, and we want to keep doing it. And part of keeping doing it is getting some dollars in the door for artists. We have Stageworks has about a $550,000 annual budget. Fully $200,000 of that goes to artists in the community. We don't typically bring anybody in, so we're trying really hard to make sure the artists of the area are able to stay here. It used to be, if you wanted to be an artist in Tampa, you had to go away and come back.
I'm one of those. I went away.
Yeah.
I had to go away. I was in New York for 11 years.
I was LA.
She went to LA,
For
right?
11 years. Now one can be an artist in Tampa and actually live here and have the possibility of earning a living in Tampa. And in part this is because there are companies and art galleries, and there is an opportunity to actually participate in art here that did not exist 20 years ago.
So we thank you for allowing us to be here and talk to you. I appreciate your grace for my sleep-deprived ramblings. But thank you so much, and I think we're happy to entertain any questions that people might have.
Yes. Before we open it up to questions, I'd just like to make an announcement because when we opened Cafe Con Campus about introducing you to all the elements of the community, and the arts are an integral part of it, and we do this very heavily. On May the 20th, our program is historic preservation. Another aspect of the arts, and you talked about the artifacts. It would be good that you all come. There will be a different group of people here. You'll need to meet each other and network. And I always encourage decision makers to come to elected officials. We have one wannabe here, and we have one past elected official here, Linda. So it's a mosaic, and we need everybody together. Then May the 20th, it's Manny Leto from St. Petersburg Preservation and Dennis Fernandez from the Tampa Architectural Review Commission. So let's mend these two elements of the arts together. That's our questions. Okay, 1, 2.